everyone. This is Jamie Marboe Nichols, and I am the host of the Heart of Dentistry podcast, where we take the ache out and put the heart back in to our dental profession. Please join me as I interview various guests who have opinions and also solutions to what is going on in our profession and helping us put the heart back in. Hello, everyone. This is Jamie Marboe Nichols, and I am with you for the Heart of Dentistry, where me and my guests, we try to take the ache out and put the heart back in. And we are in for another treat. We've got a second round with Dr. Alan Stern, who is a writer. He is a fabulous speaker, and he is a dentist. And he happens to be a neighbor just up the road from me here in Florida. He retired from
About 4 hours up the road, yeah.
Yeah, to me, you're a neighbor. I mean, considering. Well, welcome, Alan, and thank you for joining me for part two on our very serious topic of mental health in the dental space. And our first recording, we talked a lot about our own personal journeys and some of the things that we either personally or a close friend or a colleague has gone through. What I wanted to talk about is we didn't really go into a deep dive about your uh, dark time in being a practice owner as a dentist. We didn't really delve into that. I wanted to save it for this segment. And I did a lot of the talking in the beginning about my story and the things that I would like to see, have people feel comfortable in the workspace within the four walls of our dental practices in doing. This time, I want to kind of flip it around to the practice owner and some of the things you've either seen in other colleagues that are dentists and practice owners and or your own self. And so we've gone over the stats about the suicide rate being pretty much a lot higher than any other occupation out there. It's at the top of the list. And we've also talked about the 25% of dentists that did feel safe in admitting that they were depressed. So I'm going to venture out there to say that that number could almost be doubled.
Yeah, and as I'm doing some reading on this, one of the things I'm realizing is that there are a lot of different studies with a lot of different numbers.
Mhm.
And those statistics have changed over the decades. What we do know is that we in dentistry do have a higher than the general population rate of depression and a higher than the general population rate of suicide. That we know.
Those are stats.
There's
Those are,
no,
yeah,
somebody
no
could come in
question.
and quote a statistic
Yeah.
from a different country or a different era
Hmm.
and tell us, no, 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 but it is not, it is completely not debatable
Yep.
that the rate of these mental downfalls is significantly higher in this profession. And
Yeah.
I am hell bent on changing that
Me
because
too.
I was miserable, you were miserable.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't. And I my depression came after situational. Mine was definitely a situational thing, but I didn't pay attention to the little things that I wasn't doing anymore, the little joys that I used, the little things I used to find a lot of joy in. I
Mm.
wasn't paying attention to that. And to be quite frankly, I was drowning myself in alcohol. And so I was numbing these feelings. So how would I? And we know a lot of dentists that are users and abusers. And I know of at least three that actually have gone through rehab, one of which was a past client of mine that I had to actually call the board on
Wow.
because he was abusing some of his rights to sedation dentistry.
Wow.
Yeah.
It
So
happens.
yeah, it was an eye opener. It was actually my very, very first client a dental consultant. Talk about having to put on my big girl panties right away and decide
Well,
right or
your
wrong.
your your friend panties is really
Yeah.
more like, and that's
Uh,
what differentiates you, Jamie.
yeah. Well, so you have shared with me, and you've shared with people a time or two, that you had a practice, you owned your own practice, and of course you were living the dream, right?
Yeah. Living the dream, baby.
You were a millionaire, and you were just living the dream, putting $750,000 a year in the bank, and paid your home off and all your cars off, right? That's what
Yeah.
dentists do
Well,
once they
the
graduate.
worst moment was when my car ran out of gas and I had to throw it away and get a new one.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So you had to throw your Mercedes away?
Mercedes, you kidding me? It was
Yeah.
a Bentley.
So, so you see what I'm saying is that we go into dentistry, whether it's hygiene assistant, business team, dentist, right? We go into dentistry for
Hmm.
different reasons, okay? And then we get in there and we have this picture, and I do this talk from the stage a lot. We have this picture in our minds of what our new life is going to be like. If we only do this, and if we get to here, then this is what my life's going to be like. This is what the big, beautiful picture that I spent all of those hundreds of thousands of dollars on my student loans to become a dentist is for, right? What happened with you? What's your story?
What happened with me was that I was a very good dentist and a very bad marketer.
Mm,
And the growth of my practice did not follow what I wanted it to do. And I did everything. I took tons of CE. I hired the wrong advisors, the wrong consultants, the wrong coaches, the wrong marketers. And in my mid to upper 40s, I found myself about $250,000 in additional debt with no increase in income to pay it down.
mm,
So, and I saw myself as a lousy clinician. I saw myself comparing myself to Dr. 12 roundhouses in 3 days. And I saw myself as not only an underachiever, but an unachiever. I made a
mm.
lot of financial errors, and I saw everybody driving around in their Lexus and Jaguars and so on and so forth. And what did I do? I bought a house that I couldn't afford. And it was great for a while. And then all of a sudden, things dropped off, and I had to sell that house under duress.
Mm.
And for weeks, I cried. I drove past the old house crying. I lived in
Because
a
it was your
town.
dream house, right? You'd made it. You
It
would,
was no, it was my status symbol.
oh,
It
yeah.
was my, it was a symbol that I have arrived.
Hmm.
And when I sold that house, I sunk, and I was crying. I
Mm.
was crying before, then I started crying afterwards, waving the white flag of financial defeat. What actually happened is we lived very comfortably. Cash flow went better. I didn't care if the patient wanted to go through with treatment because there was the next one. And all of a sudden, there was money in the bank and we're saving again. And here I am.
Hmm.
So it was dark, but it really wasn't. It was a learning experience.
Yeah.
And the finance was a trigger, but the other trigger was seeing myself in comparison to others.
Yeah. That
And
farce, that imposter syndrome.
yeah, and there's two very big lessons to learn here. Number one, expectations, I learned from Mary Osborne, are disappointments waiting to happen.
Mm.
And a subset of that is the greatness is in the journey. And my own greatness didn't lie in the practice that I built. It didn't lie in the dentistry that I did. It lied in what came out of it, came
Yeah.
out of my so called failures, my so called adversities. And there are so many of them, it would take me a day to describe them.
Yeah.
But my upbringing also taught me to beat myself up, that I was nothing.
Yeah.
And many subliminal and overt messages along the way showed me that, proved to me that. So when I learned that my journey was not unlike others and that I actually rescued myself by seeing a therapist, by getting slapped in the face about my financial reality and actually doing something about it and
Yeah,
not burying
doing something
my
about
head
it because
saying,
our egos get in the way. What are people going to
yeah,
think if I sell this 5,000 square foot home and I move into a 2,000 square foot home? What are people going to say if I no longer am driving a Jaguar and I'm driving a I was going to say BMW, and I'm driving
BMW, yeah,
a Honda, right?
yeah. And they're not going to say anything. It's what you think they're saying. So in my world, where we are approaching depression, but can stave it off with a little bit of mental fitness.
Mm-hmm.
In my world, I have a new talk that I'm developing called GTFO. Get the facts out,
Yeah.
analyze what's really going on with the help of whatever you need, whether it's an accountant, a financial advisor, a therapist, or what have you, or a
Mm-hmm.
practice management person. Get some facts, take a deep breath, look at them, and then create a plan that will get you to where you want to go, not to where
Yeah.
you think others expect you to go.
Yeah.
I spent, I spent 10 or 11 years in a townhouse in a modest part of town.
Yeah.
At that point, it didn't matter to me what anybody thought because I was recovering and I was able to retire.
Yeah. You would have been married forever to that house, to that practice, to because you would have had to keep borrowing. I love that story that you share, and I think the vulnerability in the message is the lesson. And
Yeah.
I know that your story is going to resonate and has resonated with many other practice owners.
If I may,
Yes.
um, just for brevity, one of the things that helped me immensely was the therapist I referred to in our first session, the late, great Dr. Arnold Lazarus. He was a direct disciple of Albert Ellis, cognitive behavioral therapy. Dr. Lazarus taught rational emotive therapy. And he asked me a question because I was really bummed. Cases weren't going well. I wasn't rich like all my other colleagues were, and all those other big problems Mao had. And he looked at me, and he was South African. He had this charming accent. He said, Alan, my good man, what would the worst thing that could ever happen to you be? On a scale of 1 to 100, what registers as 100? And my kids were teenagers at the time. And I looked at him without thinking. I said, God forbid I lose one of my children. And he nodded in very paternal agreement with me. And he said, look at your problems now. How do they compare to that 100? I said, oh.
Yeah.
And that was a light bulb moment for me that, God forbid, you lose a child. I mean, if any of you out there have lost a child, my heart
Hmm.
goes out to you.
I
I
can
have friends
imagine.
who have lost children.
Me too.
It's indescribable, and there is nothing you can do except listen to them.
Nothing.
Nothing you can do for them except just try to be there if they need to talk. But if we compare our problems with that, let's start thinking, guys, because
That scale
we can
seems, yeah.
yeah, we can dig our way out of most anything.
Well, and if you have a family member, since you brought it up, if you have a family member that is suicidal, it's one of the highest rates of suicide is that younger age. And
It seems that
don't
as we get older, I don't know whether it's maturity or treasuring our time more and more as we have lived more than we will live, or whether if in dentistry we have just come to that realization that an open margin or an overdue bill or a demanding patient or a disgruntled patient or a one-star review is not the end of the world.
no,
Maybe it takes some
absolutely.
years to develop that.
Yeah, absolutely not. And that's a it's a great validation of what seems like the end of the world to you, and yet it's something in your control that you can fix. There's certain things we
Yeah.
can't change, but we can change our environment. We can change our, where we're at financially. It may seem like you can't, but you can. I mean, Alan's just a great story, but I want to go back to saying that if you do have a family member, a child that you think is going through depression and going through some tough times, ask them the tough questions. Are you depressed? Have you thought about suicide? Have you made a plan? And if you get a
Mhm.
yes to any of those, head them in the right direction because you won't get a second chance to get that family member, that child back.
And
So,
our friend Frank King talks about this a little bit. If they have been sinking and all of a sudden they come in energized and feeling great, it means that they might have already created a plan of action to do the
mm,
unthinkable. So you really want to watch for that. And
yeah,
these are just things that I learned from Frank, and they are, for you listeners, this is secondhand information. Just keep it as a bank of knowledge. Neither Jamie nor I is a psychologist.
nope.
We are not adept at treating these things, but we are looking. Our eyes are open and aware of what's going on in this profession and in humanity in general.
Exact humanity in general. Of course, we're focusing on within the dental practice with your colleagues. We're both coaches, so we're not in the practice itself, but we go to lots of meetings. We get on Zoom calls. We belong to masterminds. Pay attention if you notice that somebody's showing up or not showing up as much or on time, or if they're showing up a little disheveled, um, they're not answering your calls, and they'll say they'll return you their call and they're not. Just pay attention to some of the things that have maybe changed in what they would never have considered doing before. If they say they're going to call you back, you know that within a day or a couple hours they're going to call you, right?
Mhm.
So pay attention to some of those things, and if you are a listener and you're feeling depressed, I'm going to ask you, are you depressed? Have you contemplated suicide? Have you made a plan? And if you answer to those questions, yes, please reach out to your local hotline. Please reach out to somebody you can trust and let them know. And we will post a national hotline on our when we make this go live. You'll have a number right then and there to call. And we'll be able to get a hold of Alan. Alan's everywhere. He wrote that book, Enjoy the Ride. How can they get a hold of you if they want to? We'll have it in writing, but how can they get a hold of you, Alan, if they would like to talk to you more?
My email address, Alan at betterricherstronger.com. And being my age, I like Facebook. And my Facebook site is Better, Richer, Stronger. If you are in the dental profession, you are warmly and cordially invited. Join and see what kind of things
And you
I'm
have a
doing.
great mastermind type study club.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've got a lot of offerings that I think almost anyone could afford. It's very reasonable. I've been
yeah,
a guest on one of your forums that you do
yep,
with your clients.
yeah, and
So,
you've done a lot of good.
yeah,
Yeah, if you want to talk to me about working with me, I'll be very glad to.
yes,
And yeah, we put problems in perspective and we figure out ways to solve them
yeah,
without screwing up the quality of your life. Life is
yeah,
good.
exactly. We want to make
Life
it
is,
better. So,
yep.
thank you, Alan, and
Jamie,
you
thank
take
you.
care, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks,
All
everybody, for
right.
listening.
Bye.
The Heart of Dentistry podcast, where we take the ache out and put the heart back in to our dental profession.